Hi there. Today we're going to be having a look at the Excel question from the 2016 Western Cape preliminary paper. If you have a look at the webpage, you'll find that there is a question paper in PDF format and in Word format, and also the two source files that we're going to be working with, 3 Global Heritage and 4 Statement. Please download these and put them in an appropriate folder, as I have done over here. I'm going to have the question paper open in the sidebar on the right of your screens. Let's have a look at the first question. If you have a look at the question paper, you'll see we have a scenario. Visits by both domestic and international tourists to heritage sites have an impact on the economy of a country. We're going to work in 3 Global Heritage and work in the Heritage Sites worksheet. And if you have a look at the Excel file, which I've opened, please enable editing if you need to. You'll find we have 2 worksheets, Global Heritage Sites and Graph. We're going to start with Global Heritage Sites. Display the heading Economic Impact Global Heritage Tourism in the center across columns A to F. So we take the very first top bar, that heading, and we're going to merge and center it. Use a formatting feature to display the headings on row 2 on 2 lines without adjusting the column width. That means these lines have to be able to break across lines. That's wrap text. Change only the bottom border of the headings in row 2 to a thicker reddish line. You'll notice at the moment it's a thin line and black. So we select that range, and I can go the long way around, which is to use what are the shortcuts. Choose red, choose a thick line style, then draw the line. That may seem like a fast way of doing it, but actually it's not. The fast way of doing this is select everything and use more borders down at the bottom of the page, where I can choose my color. Let's make it red again. Choose a line thickness, can make it very thick, and click on the line. That changes the entire selection. Ensure that all the headings, row 1 and 2, remain visible when scrolling down the worksheet. At the moment, you'll see they scroll off the page. This is going to be freeze panes. You find that under the View menu, and you've got 2 options, freeze top row and freeze first column, which only freeze the very top row and the very first column. So we're going to have to use freeze panes. Select just below where you want it to freeze. It's going to freeze on the top line of this selection, and then freeze panes. Now, when I scroll, you'll see the headings stay in place. We're going to use functions to do the following calculations. Scroll up a little bit. Determine the total revenue generated from all visits to all the sites and display the answer in cell F53. So we scroll down to the bottom, and there's F53, and we're going to add everything in column F. So equals sum, and we want the full range, which is going to end at F52, and it'll begin at F3. So F3 colon F52. There we go, displaying in dollars. In cell B55, display the number of international visitors to the most visited global heritage site. Now, as soon as we need the most visited, that's max or large. So equals max, and it's of international visitors. We can select that range, D3 to D52, and there we go. That's the largest one. We could also have used the large function, so I'm just going to show you that one as well. Equals large, and it's the same range, D3 to D52. My particular computer, you'll notice, uses a decimal comma, so I'm using a semicolon as a separator between the different fields, and I want the largest, so that's comma 1, and it'll give me the same value. Determine how many global heritage sites are found in Mexico. We're going to have to count these, so we're going to be counting the occurrences of Mexico here. Equals count if, and again the range, this is column B, so B3 to B52, and my criteria is going to be Mexico. There we go. There are 6. Determine how many domestic visitors in total visited the global heritage sites in China. So we're going to have to add together all the domestic visitors who visited China. That will be SUMIF equals SUMIF. My criteria range is what comes first. So that's going to be again B2 to B52. My criteria is China, and the sum range is domestic visitors, which is column C, so C3 to C52. There we go. Then we're asked to do some conditional formatting. Highlight the sites that have received a number of visits which are above average. They don't say whether this is domestic visitors or international visitors or the total site visitors. So I'm going to select all 3 columns and work with all 3. We go to conditional formatting, highlight cell rules. Average doesn't appear in the initial values, but if you go to more rules, you'll find we have format only values that are above or below average. We're going to leave it on above, and we can choose a color. Let's go with a sort of a bluish color today. And okay. There we go. All the sites that are above average. Sort the data alphabetically according to the country and then in ascending order according to the total revenue generated. This means a sort that combines both those features. I can't say, right, let me first sort alphabetically, data sort by column A alphabetically, and then let me sort this by total revenue. So we're going to column F, okay, because now it's no longer sorted alphabetically. We've got to apply both of these together. By the way, when you're sorting, make sure that you select across all the columns. If I only select the one column, there we go, and sort alphabetically, then you'll notice that all of a sudden my countries and my heritage sites are no longer going to match up. Let's just do that to sort, continue with the current selection. This set of country and domestic data didn't change along with the countries. So yes, this is sorted alphabetically, but the values no longer apply to the particular heritage sites. So you have to make sure when you're sorting that you select all the columns because all the values are related. Now, I didn't include the column headings in my original selection, so let's do that. Column headings. When I'm sorting now, then I have to make sure that my data has headings is ticked. Otherwise, the column headings will be sorted into the list along with everything else. So our first one, I was working with global heritage sites, but actually we need to use country. We add the level for total revenue, and this one has to be sorted in ascending order, so that is smallest to largest. Okay, and there we go. So Algeria first, and then you'll see the figures for China, and China is now sorted in ascending order. Okay, moving on. That's on the next page. A graph containing the domestic visits and international visits is on the graph sheet. There we go. The graph is not complete. Study the following screenshot and follow the instructions. So we can see that among other things, the one feature is now a line graph, where on the original everything is bar graphs. So they want to change only the data series that indicates domestic visitors to a line graph. So to do that, select your series data, click anywhere on some of the data, right click, and then you will see change series chart type. This allows me to edit the different chart types for the data. Right at the very bottom, it's already selected for me, is combo, and for this I can now choose how I want any particular series to display. This is displayed as a line with no points, so we can choose one of the line formats. There we go. Adjust the legend as indicated in the screenshot above. The legend is the little piece of text that labels our two series of data. And on the screenshot, it is not very clear, but you can see that the red series has a title, whereas in the Excel sheet, it does not. So we're going to select data for the legend, and series 2, we can edit and choose a series name. International visitors. And there we are. Remember, the series titles come from the Global Heritage Sites worksheet. Next, insert the countries in which the sites are located on the horizontal axis. So that's the data along the bottom of the screen. Right click, select data, and we want to take from the Global Heritage Sites. Just move that out of the way slightly. We're going to work with the column B here. Make sure you select everything down to the bottom. Okay. And there we go. Insert any missing titles and labels. It's a bit of a catch-all, but if you look down at the bottom of the question paper, you'll find countries, which is missing in my axis title. And we've got a heading at the top of the screen, comparison domestic and international visits and global heritage sites, which is also missing. So we need to insert those two pieces. Let's have a look at design, add chart element. We've got axis titles, primary horizontal. I can edit that title and say countries. Likewise, I have a chart title. For the moment it is none. I can say above, and we can edit that chart title. Comparison, domestic and international visits. There we go. Note the display of grid lines and adjust where necessary. I'm not sure if you can make out on your screens, but in the question paper you'll see that there are far more grid lines than are displaying on the screen at the moment. There are some bold ones and between them some slightly minor ones. The minor ones are not showing on our worksheet. So again, we go to design, chart element, and you'll find grid lines, and you'll see that at the moment only primary major horizontal is selected. We want primary minor horizontal, which shows the bold line we want with the minor lines between them. There are no vertical grid lines showing. If you had to do fancier formatting, then in grid lines, more grid line options allows you to change the color and the transparency and how these will display. Right, we're done with question 3. So save, make sure you save. Don't just go to exit and trust that the save dialog is going to pop up. It's too easy to accidentally cancel and then you have to redo the entire question. Save first, then close. Question 4. Enable editing if you need to, and see what we have to do. As always, notice use formula and or functions for all calculations. You won't get any marks for just having the right figures showing in the display. You need to have the functions there. Now we're going to start off in the statement worksheet, and you'll see on the Excel sheet we've got statement and summary. Right. Use a function in cell C9 to insert today's date. C9 is this cell, and there is the today function. There we go. And it is displaying in the standard system date format, long date in this particular case. It doesn't matter what format you have it in, you only need to change that if you are specifically instructed to use a particular date format, and then you would have to format the date, format cells, and you have several dates provided for you, or you can build your own custom date format. Generate a custom code in cell C10, that's just below the date, by using functions to combine the following. The surname of the guest in H8. H8 over here contains the name, and the surname will be the right-hand side of that cell value. The statement number in cell C8. C8 is there, and ensure that the function will work correctly if different surnames are entered. So they don't want you to just type a surname and say Adonis and that value. It will give you a function which works, and if you are unable to perform the right function that you need to calculate the surname from the cell, then it will get you some of the marks for the concatenation and for using the statement. But most of this will come from that right function that determines the surname. All right, let's see how we work. So there are two functions you can use to perform the concatenation. The first one is concatenate, which works in all versions of Office up to Office 2016. More recent versions of Office have abbreviated that, so it's now concat, and that also applies to Office 365. Because of the distinction, and also because it's actually easier, the alternative is to use the ampersand character to join different sections of text. So we're going to first try and work out the surname on the right of this cell. So we're going to use the right function, and it's going to be right of that bit of text. The problem I have now, remember I'm using a semicolon separator in my version of Excel. The problem now is that I have to determine where that space is, which, as you can see here, is character B dot space 1, 2, 3, position number 3. Have a look at the right function help that it gives you. If I just use find, my value is going to be 3. It's going to copy 3 letters. Find, I'm looking for a space, a literal space in that text. There we go. That doesn't help me. It copied the 3 last letters on the right hand side. But I can combine that with the length. If I take the length of this piece of text and subtract those first 3 letters, then I will have the length of the name. So that's len, L-E-N, the length of this whole text again, which I was wanting to cheat and have it auto select, but it's not doing that, so that's length of H8 minus those first 3 characters that I found. And there we go, Adonis. Now we're going to concat that with this value in cell C8, and like I said, I'm going to use the ampersand character. So C8, there we go, Adonis 15. And if I were to change the surname, J.A. Harvey, or anything else, you'll notice that it's correctly given me a different name, regardless of the fact that it's got more letters or less letters. Let's use a longer name to illustrate. Janse van Rensburg. Nice long double-barreled name with lots of spaces in it. And Janse van Rensburg 15. Our formula still works. Moving on. I see here that in this particular exercise it says you may make use of any blank columns such as columns J and K for calculating any interim results, which means if you had wanted to split the formula up and say equals find of the space in that cell, and then equals len of that cell equals this one minus that one, and gradually build up the formula. This particular example does allow you to do that. Mostly in the exam though, you'll be expected in your final to build this all as one particular formula, which means you can construct it that way. Okay, insert a formula in cell E15 to determine the number of days this guest has spent in the guest house. E15 is here. So we're going to have to subtract this value from that value, the date in from the date out. And this is actually, in a sense, easier than it might appear. Dates are actually stored as the number of days since the 1st of January 1970 or 1st of January 1980, depending on the operating system and the program you're using. The whole number portion of that figure is measured in days. So this is literally cell C15 minus B15. There we go. Sometimes it won't display automatically as a number the way it has here. You'll see this cell was already formatted number. If it hadn't been formatted number, because I was working with dates, I would have ended up with something that displays as a date and have given me some weird figure. Choose number then to have it display correctly and with no decimal points. Guests receive a 5% discount per day when staying from Monday to Thursday. No discount is given for Friday to Sunday. Determine the discount this guest will receive in cell H15. It's only a 2-mark question, so no fancy formulas are required to determine whether these days are Sundays or Mondays or any day in between. They do tell us though that 5 September, the starting date of this particular little exercise, is a Monday. So we're going to have 4 days which receive discount and 3 days which are charged at the full rate. So to calculate that, we're going to take the tariff rate in cell F15, multiply it by 0.05 and multiply that by the 4 days. And I forgot for the moment that this system uses a decimal comma, so 0.05, that this time is 5%, and that is the discount amount. Determine the total amount due by this guest. Display the answer in cell H26, so that is the cell highlighted blue at the bottom of the screen. That will be the sum of these amounts minus the discount. So equals sum, and I'm going to use the full column range on the assumption that if this was an exercise that you had to do in a production environment, any value could be typed in the remaining rows and that would still have to be taken into account. And the same with, you aren't asked to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway, the sum of that total. What I'm trying to illustrate in this point is, even if you don't have values, you can still use the formulas. And what you get marks for in your exam is for actually using the formulas. Sometimes you're going to be asked to create formulas when there are no values to work with. So there's your total. And for the last question, a summary of the accommodation in September is found on the summary worksheet. We're going to move across to the summary worksheet. Some of the tariffs have been left out, these 4 tariffs. Use a Vlookup function in cell E8 to insert the relevant tariff code, there's E8, from the table in cells B28 to C31 on the statement worksheet. If we have a look at the statement worksheet, you'll find that that is the set of data about single rooms and double rooms and sleeping 6. So equals Vlookup. The data is arranged vertically, otherwise I would be using the HLOOKUP function or just a lookup. Look up the value, single room, and because I'm using a decimal comma, I use a semicolon separator again. Then the table array, where I am going to be looking up the value, I go across to my statement sheet and select that value, add another semicolon. I want to take a value from the second row in the selection, so that is 2. And these values are not arranged alphabetically, so I can't use an approximate match. I'm going to have to choose false for an exact match. The false is an actual value, it's not a word, so I'm not putting it in inverted commas. We use it as it appears there. Oh, there we go. And that has given us this value. However, I'm not quite done yet. If I want to fill the remaining cells, I'm not getting the values I need. Notice I'm getting values that cannot be calculated. That's because when dragging down, you need to use absolute cell references, which I indicate by putting a $ in front of the values that must stay the same. I could have used a $ into the B and C as well, but I'm only dragging down, so I've put the $ in front of the numbers. And now drag down and they fill correctly. Copy the function to the remaining empty cells to complete the summary. And we're done. Again, save. Make sure you save, then you can close. And that's it. Not too difficult, eh? See you next time. Bye for now.